So,
What's your name?
my name is Brandon.
Brandon.
Would you like to start by introducing yourself as well?
Tony.
Tony.
Nice
Awesome.
to meet you. It's a
Nice
pleasure.
talking to you.
That's Mike and John.
Mike and John. All right. Nice meeting you guys. All right. So, you saw the sign.
I actually see that sign all the time.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm around.
Yeah.
I try and do this as often as I can. So, what would you like to talk about?
Well, first, I'm curious why.
Okay. Why you should be vegan or why I do the sign?
Why you should be vegan.
Okay.
What's your spiel?
Sure. So, I'm going to start by defining veganism,
Okay.
and then you tell me what you disagree with.
All right.
All right?
We can do that.
So, veganism is an ideology that rejects the commodification of animals, right?
Define commodification for me.
Exploiting them. Well, I was going to say that commodification of animals, which means we don't want to use them, abuse them, or kill them for food, clothing, entertainment, or anything else. Right? So it's treating them as products, violating their right to life, abuse, kill, etc. So what about that definition do you disagree with?
I would maybe say I can understand the abuse part, but I don't think it's wrong for us to use animal products or to kill and eat animals.
Okay. So when you say, because I just want to get it clear.
I think for veganism, that fits the definition of veganism to my understanding of veganism.
You're saying...
So your definition of veganism is what I perceive as the definition of veganism.
Oh, right.
Like I think
okay.
that's on par with what I would have, with way smaller words, defined veganism as.
Okay. So, but you're fine, so like, not just food, you're fine with clothing, you're fine with entertainment, as long as we're not abusing them. We could use animals like for zoos, for leather.
Entertainment's a little bit, probably a harder one, because like, how do you entertain with an animal without abusing it?
Well, I guess that would be my next question is when you say abuse, what to you is an abuse of an animal?
That would probably be along the lines of it, right? Like caging it for like random objects, things like that. So I would say like holistic farming, like having your farm of animals, butchering them for food and for like dairy products, stuff with the cows, let's say.
Okay.
Totally fine in my books.
So let's say you think that putting animals in cages is abuse, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Roughly.
Tight cages,
Depends,
confined
yeah,
spaces. Okay.
fine.
So let's say you do that, but you let them live till they're 10 years old, right? Till their full life capacity, right? Versus you don't put them in cages, you let them roam free, but then you kill them at a year and a half. You kill them about 1/10 of their life cycle, right? Would you not say that prematurely ending the life of a sentient animal that doesn't want to die, would you not call that abuse, right? I would say that when a human kills another human, we consider that abusive, right? Obviously, it's bigger, it's murder and whatever under the law, but the action of ending someone's life that doesn't want to be ended, I would categorize as abusive, even though most people don't really consider it. So what I would say, like, if you are against animal abuse, right, that's fine, we can go into that, but what about the killing of an animal when we don't need to, do you think is morally justified?
I think it depends on what you define as don't need to.
Okay, I could explain.
Yeah.
So, I guess when I say don't need to, I mean it is completely unnecessary for us, and by us I mean you and I here in Massachusetts, to eat animal products. Definitely completely unnecessary for leather, and obviously aquarium zoos, that's strictly for entertainment. But when we're looking at animal products, when we're looking at nutritional science, right, that requires empirical data, right? That means we got to study it, we got to do research. And the best research we have, which I do have sources I can provide to you after, but the best research we have shows that vegans are at actually no greater risk of any type of nutrient deficiency. Vegans are at the lowest risk of most of our chronic diseases, whether it be high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, diabetes. So when you say you need to eat animal products, right? That implies that if you do not, you will not sustain your life. And just an anecdote, which doesn't really mean much with science, but just an anecdote, I've been vegan for almost 7 years, and I don't have a single health problem. I get all my protein. So to say that you need it, there's a fine line between, okay, do you really need it or do you want it, and is it just more convenient to get the food from?
I think I can understand your statement, right? I don't know if I fully agree with it because there's not enough, as far as I've like seen, enough empirical data that says that veganism's been like around enough, tested enough, versus something like, let's say, carnivorism, which is the complete opposite, right? Mm-hmm. Both have been like done forever, right? But neither has been like tested forever, right?
Well,
so there's a lot of like variables in data. I would say like you might see a lot of data that says, eating red meat causes heart disease, but it's because you look at the statistics of who generally eats the most, fatty red meats. fat Americans barbecuing, drinking
Yeah.
beer, smoking cigarettes, right? Where if you look at people that switch to veganism, it's generally because they have a health problem that they're trying to cure, or something along the lines of like, maybe I'm trying to lose weight, let's try to cut out carbs, let's try to cut out stuff that, might be something that might have caused a lingering problem. So they're doing it with the cause of trying to bring health, which brings, oh, I should probably work out at the same time. That's like the type of data you generally see. Now, like you said, you might have sites that say otherwise, but that is like a general of health science data. You see tending trends that run together, which causes all fad diets, not that you're just a fad diet, but just that you're in that scope, just like carnivorism, just like, paleo, all of them are considered fad to an extent.
Well,
to an extent.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is
Broad scope.
epidemiology, right? And epidemiology is where most nutritional science comes from, minus mechanistic data. Epidemiology gets pushed aside a lot of times by usually whoever's on the opposing side of what the epidemiology is saying. But if you look, epidemiology is what showed us that trans fats and smoking cigarettes is harmful and cancerous and all those things, right? Epidemiology is incredibly useful because and all those studies where you said, well, when you look at the populations, scientists control for those other health factors, right? So when you look at populations, you can track populations and you can see that certain actions that they're doing or certain behaviors that they're exhibiting are consistent, and that's leading to a certain health outcome. I think that's incredibly useful when you can't ethically or when you can't feasibly do a controlled trial. Not to mention there are controlled trials with fruits and vegetables with plant-based protein versus animal-based protein. They have those studies as well. But what I would say is, you said veganism hasn't really been tested. When you say tested, that implies observational, right? So that implies, well, there hasn't been millions of vegans all around the world. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But if we look at the omnivorous diets that we have, right, that has been tested. And what's our number one killer? It's not accidents, right? It's not murders. It's heart disease, which is primarily a dietary-related disease. What's number, I believe it's 2 or 3? Cancer, which can be influenced by your diet. Well, there's a lot of great evidence that support that it is. And then when you look at down the list, diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, all of these things aren't inherent. Like there are people who can eat animal products and be healthy, right? The difference though, right, when you said a fad diet, the difference is, let's say I grant that carnivorous diets and vegan diets are equally healthy, right? Which they're not, but just to say for the argument, let's grant it.
Vegan, by the way?
Almost 7 years. Mm-hmm. Let's just grant that that's the case. The difference is one contributes to the death of billions of sentient animals unnecessarily, and the other one doesn't, right? Not counting incidental deaths like crop deaths, not counting, like, one of them minimizes to what's practicably possible animal deaths, right? Intentional rights violations, right? So even if I grant, because I talk to, especially in this area, I get a lot of carnivores and a lot of meat-based people, even if, because they always want to say, well, carnivore diets are healthy, vegan diets aren't, whatever. Even if we put them on the same page, even if I grant that, okay, carnivore diets with the complete lack of evidence is, fine, you won't get heart disease, there's still the rights violations, right? So when one action is clearly causing more harm than the other, why would we ever go towards the other action? Just unless we just want to eat meat.
I would say that makes sense for your side of the case, right? Mm-hmm. I, as someone that leans heavily on the carnivore diet side, like I don't eat fully carnivore, but like pretty dang close to it. I probably go through like, me and my roommates, I have 2 roommates, we eat at least 3 pounds of ground beef every 2 days, like minimum, not including like steaks and other chicken and poultry, things like that. Well, chicken is poultry, but you get the point.
Right.
So we eat an absurd amount of meat. But I think for your case of saying like animals have rights makes total sense, and I agree with you, right? I don't know that animals necessarily have rights. I think it's wrong to abuse anything, right? But I don't think animals deserve rights of like, oh, they should just be free because whatever. I believe, and part of that comes from like, religion. I'm a Christian. Yeah. So like, as you see, I have a Bible. I believe like God gave us dominion over all things. It says in Scripture, He made the planet and He made us to like more or less rule over it within means, right? We understand as Christians that like we are a sinful people. We're born into sin, so like we're evil at nature. So we do abuse animals. There's people that suck, like you've seen it. You see it all the time on the street. People yelling as we're talking.
Yeah.
Disobedience and like sin is what we call it more or less. But that is just something that's prevalent everywhere. So like, even in like your side of veganism, we're gonna see people that like improperly crop which is going to cause just as much harm to like, a different biome. It might not be
Yeah,
a
yeah,
large
no,
animal, but
absolutely.
now we're doing.
There are industrial,
exactly.
Injustices and malpractices.
And as
even
things
in
grow
animal
of any type of
products.
thing, whether it's veganism or carnivorism, and you have to mass produce, crop or
Sure.
whatever farm animals would be considered. I can't think of the name of it
Animal
right now.
agriculture.
Yeah,
livestock.
agriculture. Thank you. Livestock. That's what I was looking for. Livestock or crop, you're going to see a biome get affected.
Sure.
So I think technically the right answer would be somewhere in the middle. And
Well, so again, when we look at the differences, right, with crops, they're not sentient. So sentience is the ability to feel pain, feel joy, experience life, right? I would say, I know you are Christian, but I would say, and you might believe in souls and that humans are inherently special, which is fine, right? We could still work around that. But do you think animals are sentient? Like they have some form of consciousness?
I don't truly know.
Okay.
I
So,
think
like,
they might have a consciousness, but I don't know if they have like a soul, right? There's
no,
mind,
not soul.
body,
Forget
and
about soul.
so it's
I just
different,
mean the
right.
ability, like if you step on a puppy's tail, you know that puppy feels pain.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So, and the difference is when you step on a carrot, there is no pain. There's no pain receptors.
No.
No, that.
kidding.
All right. Because I get that argument, dude. I swear to God.
Screaming.
No, I get that argument, dude. I'm not joking. So, but that's the thing is like, when we can forget about the studying of the organs and the nerves, and when you cut open a dog and you cut open a human, the organs, the nerves, all of those bodily functions. No, you're fine. All of those things are very, very similar, which is what tells us they're sentient. But also just observational. When you hurt an animal, they do react in a hurtful way. When you treat an animal nicely, they warm up to you, they trust you, they, like petting or whatever. So just from that, right, I would say that there really is, and again, when we look at the data, the best data we have, right, you might eat beef, right? But I guarantee you that if you went to a vegan diet, as long as you got all of the same nutrients, right, which you can get on a vegan diet, you would feel the same, and your health would be the same, if not better, because you're not consuming large amounts of saturated fat and cholesterol. So when we could argue nutrition all day long, right? We could argue nutrition all day long. But when it comes to the moral, right? Because obviously you're eating carnivorous, so you might think, well, screw that guy, I feel good on meat. That's fine. But what I want to drill home is that morality, right? Because at the end of the day, if you feel so strongly that what you are doing is wrong, you're going to change whether you want to or not, right? It's that drive of, I want to be a consistent good person, right? I'm assuming that's what you have. So when it comes to morality, you mentioned that we have dominion over animals, right? As God, right? With the Jesus or the Bible. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah. Couple things, right? And I'm not a man of the Bible, so because a lot of people, when I bring up these points, they say, "Well, have you read the whole Bible?" No, I haven't read the whole Bible. My fiance has. She was hardcore Christian. She's vegan now, but
Same with the religion.
yeah.
She's vegan now.
But,
no longer a Christian.
Well, because I talked to a lot of Christians and they say the same thing. Well, God told us. If I'm not mistaken, the Garden of Eden is actually originally vegan. So in the Garden of Eden, they only had plants to eat. They only had the fruit of the trees or whatever they say. And it was only after Adam and Eve sinned that animal products and all of the harmful things came about, right? So it was only after that point that they were able to consume animals. Prior than that, the Garden of Eden was vegan. The other thing is, when you say dominion is very loosely interpreted, right? The word dominion, technically dominion could mean you can do whatever you want. Dominion could mean you could do what you want, but don't abuse. So dominion doesn't necessarily mean that we have the right, or I don't think it should mean that we have the right to do whatever we want. I would say that dominion just means we have a specific position separate from animals, right? Or maybe above animals in a way, right? But again, it's a slippery slope. When you're trying to make like a human supremacist argument, right? That's very similar to a male supremacist argument, or a white supremacist argument, or a straight supremacist argument, right? I'll introduce you to a term if you don't know. It's called speciesism, and it's where you discriminate against certain species of animals, right? So how we treat dogs and cats lovingly, like members of the family, we still abuse them in the pet breeding industry, but for the most part, it's animal abuse if you even hit a dog, right? You actually can get charged and fined. Whereas the dogs, cats, cows, chickens, pigs, they don't have, livestock. they don't have any of those rights. You could pretty much do whatever you want to them and you won't be charged. And what I would ask is, what is the morally substantive difference, right, between a dog and a cow, where one deserves one form of treatment and the other one doesn't?
Yeah. Well, I think morally, like I said, I don't think there is, from the Christian worldview, I don't think morally there is a difference, right?
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that, like, I choose one over the other. They're all animals to me. Animal's an animal. I'll treat a cow the same way I treat a dog. Treat a dog the same way I treat a cow.
So you would eat a dog?
See, I think culturally I wouldn't, but not, like, religiously I wouldn't, right? Like, I don't think there's any lines in the Bible that say, like, one animal versus the other, but we live in culture that would define that as inappropriate.
But would you say that culture dictates what's moral?
It's a good question.
Think about some awful things that were culturally normal.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's
right in this country, right where we're standing.
That's a good counter argument.
Think about it.
Good counter argument.
If you want to say something, go for it.
What you got, Mike?
Where do you find your definition of morality?
So with logic and reasoning. So when it comes, I could define what I believe is moral and immoral, if you'd like me to.
No, I want to just understand where you derive your definition of morality from, and if there's logic and reason, what dictates your logic and reason? Because I mean, I could speak, I think for Tony and myself, that we have an objective moral reality. The creator of the universe, the creator of the animals, and the creator of us, he can tell us what's right or what's wrong. There is no subjective morals. Morals are not subjective. Sure. There is an objective moral truth. And, you know, I understand your argument on the fair treatment of animals. But more or less, I guess I just have other questions for you. If you feel that strongly about animals, where is your stance on some other issues of life?
Absolutely, I would love to answer that.
Furthermore, you know, you seem very passionate and zealous for animals, and that's great. I mean, I think, man, a guy with your energy directed towards, you know, really the truth, towards Jesus, towards salvation. As much as I love dogs and all these animals and don't want to see them mistreated, God's creation, those who are created in his image, which was not a dog or a cow or a cat, they weren't created in his image, but everyone standing amongst us tonight is, and our souls are in jeopardy right now. There's coming a judgment day, and to take the energy that you have and exert it towards saving these souls, man, I would just encourage you. I think is a lot more courageous endeavor than to save the cattle. But I agree with you that I think the industrialization of our food source when it comes to livestock is, it's distasteful to say the least. But brother, I've just heard you say that you didn't really you seem to object towards Christianity and towards our Lord and Savior. What are your thoughts there? Why is that?
I would love to address all those points.
Please do.
All right. So, couple things, right? I'm going to address the 3 points. Where do I get my morality from?
Yeah.
You mentioned morality is objective, which I have a counter to. And then you asked if I object to Christianity. Okay. So, number 1, what I define as moral, immoral, right? I after the years of going into human rights, animal rights, I would say that whenever something is an impedance on another so we're all sentient animals, right? You might think we have souls or whatever, that's fine. But scientifically, right, we're all sentient animals. We're in the animal kingdom, right? We might be special than other animals, I'll grant you that, but we are in the animal kingdom. So when one sentient animal, right, impedes on another sentient animal's rights, right? When it's unconsensual. Sorry, I would say negative rights. So the right to not be abused, the right to not be killed, the right to not be beaten, the right to not, so the right to their life, right? And we have to grant things rights, right? But I would say that at the core, right, whenever a sentient animal that can feel pain, feel joy, experience the world is born and living, they should not have their rights impeded on, right? They should not be harmed, right? So what I would say my where I gather my morals from is, okay, if one action is causing harm, and by harm I mean those negative rights, right to not be abused, right to not be hurt, be verbally, whatever it is, right? When one action is causing harm, no go, right? So some examples: racism, homophobia, sexism, animal agriculture, child abuse, child kidnapping, child molestation. So when all of the, and I got it, when all of those things are actively causing intentional harm, right, causing rights violations, that's where I draw the line, right? Where I don't draw the line on are people's personal choices that only affect themselves. If you want to drink, I don't drink, but go right ahead. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to stop you. You want to smoke? I don't smoke. Go right ahead. You're only hurting yourself. And now the industry is different, but that's a whole nother argument. So that's where I gather my morality from. It's from a lot, and not just me. Like, I had to learn that from somewhere, right? So it's a collective group of people over thousands and thousands of years with ancient philosophers thinking about why we do what we do, why we act how we act, and what we should do. So that's number one, right? And that's what leads me.
Just to circle back.
Sure.
Because some of the things which you're saying are morally okay because we only hurt ourselves. Those same ancient philosophers would once say we're immoral. So morality can evolve in time. Is that
Absolutely.
what you're implying?
Yeah. So that's what I was saying is that's what I was going to do my next thing. When you say morality is objective, right? I would say that morality is subjective because we as a collective, as we know, because as a group, right, we, the majority of us on this earth, still kill animals, right? I refuse that. I think that's immoral. We don't need to. But obviously there is a collective morality that dictates our laws, right? So I would say that morality is subjective, and we have to use logic and reasoning in order to evolve, right? Because to think that, and again,
perhaps you haven't evolved enough.
Well, please, one more thing. I just want to say one more thing. When we look at the Bible, right, to say that the Bible is an objective truth, right, that would mean that not only do you have proof that the Creator either had a hand in writing it or wrote it, right, which means you would have to be there or have some kind of scientific evidence. But also, when it comes to the Bible being the truth, that would mean that I don't know how long that was written ago, thousands of years, right? Thousands?
Yeah.
Thousands? That would mean that the first thing that was written about our morals was written thousands of years ago, and that's it. To think that our morals and beliefs shouldn't evolve past what was written thousands of years ago. Now, again, unless there's hard truth about that the Creator had a hand. But again, my goal here is, right, like I said, if people have a belief, if people have religion, like if you're convicted in that, that's fine. The problem is, I think it gets very tricky when people who believe, whether it's the Quran, whether it's the Torah, whether it's the Bible, who believe in that book so hard that they will see in action, whether it's the stoning of gays, whether it's sexism, whether it's the animal agriculture industry, they'll see those actions and they'll say, you know what? Even though you could literally see the harm, right? Forget about the science, you could literally see the harm. But they will say, you know what? In my book that I am convicted was written by God thousands and thousands of years ago, that is okay and too bad for them, right? I think that, and I'm not saying that's what you guys think. I'm just saying that I think that's a tough sell when we're talking about what's moral and immoral.
Where does the Bible instruct us to stone people?
No, not just the Bible. I was saying the Quran, Torah. I'm saying there are other, it's not just Christianity, there's plenty of other religions.
There's plenty of false prophets who have written things like the Quran. Yeah, no, we believe in the truth, which is the Holy Writ.
Right, but those people also say that their prophet is correct, right? So it's kind of a coin flip, right? Which one are you going to believe? But again, like
I don't know that I would so much say it was a coin flip of which one we believe, particularly if we were to compare the Bible against the Quran. But I don't think that's really why we're here to talk. And I think you have every right to be vegan, like I said, and I really respect your decision. But it was just when you bring up the thought of morality. You really get my wheel spinning. Even some of the things you said about morality being subjective, I still don't see that. I mean, there is right and wrong. If you're going to say that morals can evolve with time,
Absolutely.
Well, then I would ask the question, and I don't want an immediate answer, but I mean, perhaps
hello,
you're unevolved in that regard because Who's to say that morality hasn't evolved to the point where it is okay to cause harm to something else? Or are you going to draw the line and say, no, morality cannot evolve beyond the point of it causing physical harm to another living creature? In which case, I'd say, where do you...
No, it
think
can
that-
evolve. It has evolved. Like, just like how in World War II Germany, people thought it
no,
was
I-
more...
I
So,
don't-
like, it has changed. Morality
No.
changes depending on who's...
No. World War II Germany and the Third Reich and their view on morality was not an evolution of morality. It was a violation of moral laws.
I
That
would
was not an evolution or a change in morality. It was strictly a violation of morality.
And I would agree with you there that it is immoral. But what I would say is, if the entire world believed what Nazi Germany believed, that would be a subjective morality, right? And it's up to
No,
people to use
incorrect.
reasoning. All right.
That would be a violation of an objective
And
moral truth.
one more
that
thing
taking
about-
another human life is absolutely wrong, no matter how far evolved we might be. Any human being is created in God's image, and to take its life is an abomination and it's murder.
So one last thing about that. One last thing about the objective thing, and then I would like to go back to. But one last thing about the objective thing. If there was a book that everyone was convinced, let's say 99% of the people were convinced, were written by God, right? Let's just say, and in that.
Before I knew you, I knit you in your mother's womb and sanctified you.
And in that book, right? And in that book, it said that it's moral to abuse children. Let's just say, right? Not it doesn't. I'm not saying it says in the Bible. Let's just say that there was a book that 99% of people believe that God wrote, and in that book, it said it was moral to abuse children. And they're saying exactly what you guys are saying. Well, morality is objective. Morality is objective. There's only one morality that's objective, and this is it. And yet, as time has evolved, we have recognized that children deserve to be protected. Children should not be harmed, and they can feel pain. They have psychological effects, physical effects, whatever it is, right? I would say that it is up to our logic and reasoning to go, wait a second, guys. We have now discovered all of this new information about how children function, how people work. We should not allow abuse to children, right? Even though your book may say otherwise, I'm not saying I'm just saying general book. I would say that it's still up to people's subjective logic, reasoning, morals to come together as a group, to have discussions, because that's how things change, and to go from there, right? But if
I
you'd
think
like to
I think one of the
say-
problems that we're seeing here is like you're speaking so much on subjectives when there truly are objectives in life, right? There's objective truth is what we all believe, right? The objective truth is it doesn't matter if 99% of people believe that veganism's right, or if there's a book that says child abuse is right. It's not about the amount of people that believes in something that makes objective truth. Objective truth is truth because it is that way from the beginning, right? So we believe from the beginning. It's not because this was written thousands of years ago, it's the truth. It's because it was written by the one that was there before thousands of years.
How do you know?
We know through the evidence of the Gospels.
Dude, I've watched a lot of debates with. Look, I'm an
I get you.
atheist. Dude, I have wanted to actually actually be religious. Because my fiance, I told you, she's read
I
the
get
Bible
you.
through and through. She used to be religion. The Bible is one of the most beautiful books ever written, right? In terms of the stories, the content, the vocabulary. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous book, right? I would want nothing more than for there to be a heaven and a hell or whatever it is, right? It's just when we're making decisions about how people should be treated, when we're making decisions about how other sentient animals that can feel pain should be treated, we really need hard empirical evidence, right?
And there is.
And well, if there is hard empirical evidence for the Bible, it would be in our science, and we would have it.
There is. In the
science.
history books, there's hard empirical evidence of Jesus Christ. There's hard empirical evidence that hundreds of people saw him raised from the dead. There's hard empirical evidence that people were raised from the dead.
Those are
from the time that he
anecdotes.
was
It's not empirical.
empirical evidence. What is the difference being?
So it's something that can be
empirical and anecdotal?
tested, something that can be observed, tested. So an anecdote, somebody saying, well,
Eyewitness accounts would be considered.
It's an anecdote. So it's like how the carnivore diet, just how people who eat nothing but meat say, wow, I feel good. That's an anecdote. There's no actual science supporting it.
Everything's anecdotal at its core, right?
No.
Because everything is subject to
how do you
our
know that
perception of it.
No,
Right?
not
No,
clinical,
yes.
not blind controlled clinical trials, no.
Yes, because we haven't had anything that's been blind, clinically controlled long enough to prove its truth.
No, it's so as long as you could repeat it and test it, multiple times. That's what science is. Like, how do we know that gravity exists? It's because we have tested it and it's repeatable. And it's like, yeah, we had to come up with the term gravity. Like, everything we had to come up with at some point. But the point is, when we define something and we say, okay, when I drop this, it's going to fall to the ground because of the force of gravity, we could repeat that over and over and over again.
Not everything that happens in existence is repeatable. We believe in all types of things in space. We believe in all types of things that happen on the planet.
Sure.
Because one, eyewitness accounts, anecdotal, maybe, yes.
Sure.
But they're not repeatable. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. Does that mean it doesn't exist?
No, I'm saying that when you're when you want the world to function a certain way based on what's in a book, right? Even though some of the content of that book, now it's not making any religion, but just even though some of the content of that book may be harmful for the time they were living in, or we have evolved to understand that some of those actions or some of those messages have been harmful, I would say that that's not moral. That's not good. Like, we can't be so concrete. It's like, same thing with, I would argue, and look, you guys might kill me for this one, but I would argue, like, even like the what's it called, the Constitution, right? Even the Constitution, I would say, like, yeah, at its core, it's a great a document. It's a great like the Bill of Rights or whatever it is. But I would say that as people change, our rights, our laws also need to evolve. Otherwise,
God never changes.
you get But I guess what we do, because I think what's happening is we're hitting a wall where we have different core beliefs, and
Exactly, and
that's
what
all right.
this is generally going to come down to. Outside of religion or food, there's certain things that people, when their central idea of being of who they are, like right now your thing is veganism, right?
Well, my thing is, I'm also for human rights. My thing is defending
you
the
would
rights
say
of
they go
sentient
hand in hand.
animals.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
would
they
say
go.
hand in hand.
I would say that the reason why we mistreat so many humans is because we have a we
Desire to
start from the
mistreat
bottom up.
things in general.
Yeah, it's so if
And we believe the same thing due to sin that's entered into the world.
Right,
So
right.
we have a middle ground, but there's like a line between what we believe is morality, and
Right.
I think that's the only difference that we're having that's causing,
What I will say though, I appreciate you. I really do.
I
Because
appreciate you talking.
every time there's somebody who is preaching religion or whatever, I like doing this. So
Yeah.
I like giving them, But I will because I'll give you some time. If you have a spiel, if you want to say something you go for it, man.
We don't have too much to say. We're just out here just trying to like be the light of who Christ calls us to. He tells us to go into the world the same way you're going into the world and try to tell people about who he is, I'm not here to shove the gospel down your throat, down anybody's throat. I'm not trying to like force you to believe in what I believe in. Just like you're not trying to force people, you're trying to get them to come to the understanding.
Yeah, have a conversation.
And we believe in the same exact thing. I believe in, if I have a conversation with a guy that's a vegan that believes truly in what he believes in, and I believe in what I truly believe in, what is right and what is true will come to pass. God has the power at the end of the day. It's not me, it's not you, it's not the guy with the cross sign,
He looks. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
You look.
you might be careful in an
How much
alley.
you squat,
man.
huh? How much you squat?
Yeah, tell me your numbers. dude.
That'll be a good amount. Yeah, right.
But you understand, the
Yeah.
idea is we believe as Christians that the time will come to pass where Christ, in our case, will come into their hearts. Just like you believe under the right circumstances, if you give enough empirical
Yeah, with
evidence
enough
or
education, people will be
or whatever
vegan.
the case
Right.
is, people will become
Yeah.
vegan. So like our desire in our hearts for all of our guys around is just that people would come to the understanding of what true morality is. So the same idea of what you believe in would happen. So I didn't mean to tab you, but the same idea of what would happen. Like your desire is to see like rights of sentient animal be like glorified correctly. And our desire is to see the same thing, but from our view, right? That our beliefs, our morals would be brought to light and that people would get to live in the glory of knowing who God is, going to heaven that we believe in, all the different things that come aligned with that. That's it,
All right, man. Well, look, I really appreciate it. And I also appreciate you talking, man.